All right. Hi, Reed. We're all here in science class.
Yeah, we're all computers now.
What? All right. So we're gonna get started. All right, and I guess if I stand here, then he can see me and hear me. All right. So we're gonna pick up where we left off yesterday. We were talking about the laws of motion. Alright, and we're on, where are we? Alright, we're on page 218. We went through the 3 laws of motion, and you guys are going to be writing a letter to someone.
Yes.
When is that due?
Like, that will be due on Tuesday.
Do I have to give it to someone? Because I don't know.
No, you don't actually have to give it to someone. You would just hand it in to me.
Oh,
I mean, if you wanted to make a copy of it and give it to someone, you could. But, so we're
Can
writing.
I type it? If I'm not going to give it to someone, I actually just give it to you.
It doesn't need to be typed. If you prefer to type, that's fine.
But
you
yeah,
have to
wait,
see it
what
too,
would I say? Like,
I have to see it, yes.
would I say dear blank, or would I say dear and a name?
Whatever you want. If you want to write it to a specific person, you can do that, or you can just write to whom it may concern, or whatever you want. Or you can just put dear and then leave it.
It's about
Do
why we should
dear-
wear a seatbelt.
About why we should wear seatbelts.
Maybe do
Yes.
dear future drivers. Dear future.
Dear future drivers. That's an excellent intro. Very good. All right. So, we're going to go through a couple of discussion questions, and then we're going to work on some activity manual review. Okay, so, question. All right, a formula is the mathematical sentence that shows how something works. What is the formula for the second law of motion? Azalea?
The little box.
Yeah, and that yellow box right there.
Mass, acceleration, force.
What does that X mean in math? Yes.
Yeah. So mass times acceleration equals force. Very good. All right. Why does it take more force to pick up a full carton of milk than it takes to pick up an empty carton? Isabel?
Because there's more mass in it.
Good. Yeah. Very good. All right. Which usually travels faster, a baseball that is thrown or a baseball that is hit with a bat? Gavin?
Baseball that's hit with bat.
Yes, that is correct. Do you know why?
Because it's thrown faster and the base, like when you swing back, it reflects the ball forward and it makes the speed go faster. I don't know.
Because like when you're just throwing it, it's slower than it is faster.
And then when you hit it, it gives it like a boost start.
Well, so let's think about that formula we just talked about. So mass times acceleration equals force. So maybe we can assume that the acceleration of the ball
It's
being
less.
hit is the same as being thrown. But what about the mass?
There's more.
More alteration.
Right, yeah, the mass of the bat is much bigger than the mass of the pitcher's hand. So the greater the mass of the object, the greater the force will be. And the greater the mass of an object. Oh wait, no, that's the second part. The greater the force, the greater the acceleration. Yes.
I just want to ask, is there a team captain at baseball? Because if it's like a team captain, even if there's a coach, would there be like a team captain? Would the team captain swing first?
Well, usually that's up to the coach, but I mean, typically, most times you have a sports team. There's usually a captain. There might be a co-captain of the team.
We elect ours.
Oh,
But
okay.
only after I tell them what the qualifications should be.
In
We pick
football,
two.
So the players actually vote?
Yes,
On it?
but I don't let them vote until they listen to what I tell them the qualifications should be. Because I don't
Gotcha.
want it to be a popularity contest.
Yeah. Isabel.
we don't vote when we do flag football. I'm always the co-captain because my uncle's the coach, so like he's the captain and I'm the co-captain. Jacob's usually my coach.
So there's a little, what do you call it? Nepotism
Yes.
going on there.
Nepotism, yes. Nepotism if it's in the family, yes.
Yes. Okay, so here's a question. Jamal and his dad were target practicing with bow and arrow. Jamal's arrow flew at 45 miles per second.
That's impossible,
Wow.
isn't it?
It depends how
Maybe
you roll.
meters per second? No, I think that's, yeah, I think it's miles per second.
That's pretty bad.
All right, so, and his dad's flew at 60 miles per second. Whose arrows had the greater force exerted on them? Azalea?
Dad?
Yeah, the dad's.
Because he had more strength.
Well, I mean, that might not always necessarily be true. You could have a son be stronger than a father, especially if the father is very advanced in age. But how do we know for certain that the dads had greater force? Isabel.
Because it says 60, and 60 is greater than 40.
Right, exactly. So the
But
acceleration.
how do they know how fast they're?
There's like
Yeah.
speed guns. They have speed guns.
Yeah.
Cops use them
Those are called
sometimes.
radar guns, yeah.
So they must have some way of measuring that.
So if I buy a speed gun and I shoot a bow and arrow, and if it's not faster than 45 miles per second,
Well, I mean, we don't know how experienced they were at this either. They might be pretty well practiced at bow and arrow. But it's just an example. All right. At Saturday's game, the Tigers kicked a 45-yard field goal. The Bears kicked a 20-yard field goal. Whose ball probably had the greater force exerted on it? Azalea?
The first one?
The first one. Yeah. The Tigers' ball. And how do you know?
Because that's more than because 45 and 20.
Yeah, because it traveled farther. Yeah, so okay, so I think you guys are getting the hang of this, right?
yeah.
All right, we'll do one more. Your mom wants to rearrange some furniture. Your job is to help move the bookcase.
That's punishment for a blind kid.
No.
All right.
No.
So let's see here. Your job is to help move the bookcase, but you want to use as little force as possible. So, will you move the bookcase with or without the books on the shelf? Isabel?
Without.
Without. Yes. And why?
Because with the books has more mass.
Good. Very good. All right, we're getting used to using those words, mass and force. So that's good. All right, Gavin.
So, because if the books fall on you, you're probably not going to make it out. Especially if your mom likes hard-covered books.
Yes. Well, yeah, and odds are if you try to move a bookshelf with the books on it, the books are just going to fall off anyway. So probably not the best way to try doing that. All right. So let's go on to the third law of motion. What does the third law of motion say? Azalea?
It's sometimes called the law of action and reaction.
Good.
All forces come in pairs.
Good. All right. What is, okay, so you kind of just said this. What is another name for Newton's third law of motion? What was that again?
Something about all
action or
forces.
reaction.
Action and reaction. Good. All right. Each backstroke competitor at a swim meet waits in the water at the end of his lane. When the starting gun sounds, each uses his feet to push off from the side of the pool. How does this demonstrate Newton's third law of motion?
because they're using the walls to like push themselves off.
Right. So if they push off of the wall,
They're gonna go faster.
so that their action would be pushing off of the wall, and the reaction of that is going to be
Swimming faster.
Going faster.
that they have that
Boost
leverage that pushes them off the wall. So it gives
Are
them.
professional swimmers allowed to do that? Like, are they allowed to push off the wall, or do they
Well, I
have
think
to
they're
just?
trained to do
I
that.
think that's.
They're trained to do that. When I
But
they
they
try
jump
to
off the
convince the baseball players that when they swing a bat, they have to take their hands back before they take them forward. I show them 2 punches. Look at me, guys. Look at me. Here's 2 punches. Punch number 1. Punch number 2. Which one's stronger?
The one on the back, because in
That's right.
karate,
Okay.
you always have it like that, so that way
That's
you're
right.
ready to.
And what do you do when you shoot a bow? An arrow. You pull it back.
pull it
What do you
back.
do when you shoot a rubber band? You pull it back.
You pull it
first.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
But you know,
Actually, you're creating potential energy, right?
Yeah. Well, and even when you throw a basketball, you're not gonna start right here and
That's
try to tap it into the net.
Yeah,
You
take
put
it
it
back.
here and then you
Take it
launch
back.
it. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it's just probably most sports. There's some
There's some
level
principle
of that going
yes, Absolutely. Yes.
on. All right. Let's see. All right. So what would happen if you exerted pressure on a chair by sitting in it, and instead of exerting equal force back, the chair exerted less force back?
It wouldn't give when you lean back against it. It would be stiff. A stiff chair, a stiff back chair. Is that what they're saying?
I'm not sure. I think maybe it's assuming the chair
so it's not like
is not as strong as the person sitting on it.
Oh,
I'm guessing.
couldn't support them. It wouldn't unable to support the person.
Yeah.
I guess we might know what they mean by knowing what the answer is.
Sitting in it. Yeah. So what would happen? Let's say you have a chair that's intended for a toddler, like one of those little chairs.
Yeah.
Especially one of those little picnic chairs that are plastic.
Yeah.
And you put like a full-grown man in that chair. What's gonna happen?
It's gonna collapse.
And then he's gonna be like,
Yes, the chair
gonna
would
be like,
collapse.
Oh no, I can't have tea with Miss Pumpkin. The stuffed pumpkin.
All right. So we talked about a few other ones, but so we talked about a few examples, but can you guys think of any other examples of this that you might experience in everyday life?
so like if you have an old chair and you've had it for like a while, like our high chair for Ryder, and it like one day he just sat in it and it broke.
Oh.
No, it didn't actually happen, but I'm just saying.
Oh.
I was gonna say, what?
Well, I actually did have a very scary thing happen to me once when I was very young, and I was babysitting my sister's son. So I was probably like 19, 20, but not really super experienced with babies. And he wasn't that used to me. And I put him in, it was actually one of those high chairs that strap to another chair.
Yeah, that's what my grandma has, but it's a bumbo.
Oh,
We
okay.
have 3 bumbos: a pink one, a red one, and then a plastic new one.
So I put my nephew in the chair, and I strapped the high chair to the chair, and then he proceeded to do this.
Oh.
And then what do you think eventually happened when he
Well,
started doing that? Yeah, the whole high chair tipped
Did you
backward.
catch him?
Thankfully, I did. But,
Really?
yeah, it was very frightening. Like, my first time babysitting, like, a relatively very small child. And,
You're just like,
Very scary.
If the mom was there, she would have like sensed it from like 50 miles away, and she would have like ran like the Flash.
Yeah. Well, but one of the things that I learned from that experience is that the chair that I put it on was a lot like maybe that wooden chair back there, where the back is just straight up like that. And so it was, and probably not the heaviest chair either. So I underestimated how strong he was. But maybe what are some other sports? I'm thinking of one in particular where
Soccer.
you usually have to give up your sneakers and put on a pair of funny looking shoes.
Sweets.
What?
Oh,
roller skating.
hockey.
Roller skating.
Soccer.
Roller skating.
Well, I guess there's some funny looking shoes for lots of sports there.
Roller skating.
Lacrosse.
So let's bowling. I'm thinking of bowling.
Oh.
So a lot of times,
How
if
are
you
bowling shoes
notice,
Yeah.
How are bowling shoes different though?
they're usually flat on the bottom. They don't have any tread,
They have protection.
which
on
I'm
them
not
on
really
the
sure
top.
what yeah, they are. They're like canvas on the outside, right? They're like a thick, like almost
Yeah.
plastic.
So like when you run, you're supposed to sort of like.
I guess so. Maybe
slide.
if you drop the ball on your,
But it won't
I'm
damage.
not really sure.
Because when I think it also doesn't have any tread
Maybe
on
it's
the
so you
bottom.
don't stuff up the bowling alley.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
And
that's
I
something
think
that-
Maybe
And
it's
there's no tread
they.
because when you run and do the big like bowl, you have to like sort of slide. You have to go like.
Maybe.
But having like
Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that friction on the bottom of your feet when you're doing that. But what I'm thinking of is usually, like, especially if you see a professional bowler, when they're getting, they're getting up to they have kind of this stance where they're kind of in a position like this, and then when they're ready to throw the ball, they go back and then throw it, right? You ever seen it? I mean, probably most of us
That's
do
what
that,
I
right?
like
Do we-
That's not a lot of different sports.
Yeah,
Where you just step back.
yeah,
Because it gives you momentum.
like
Yeah.
golf, you have
So-
to like bring the putt back and go.
yeah. That's another
But like
one.
in golf, they go.
Well, if you're putting, right? Is that putting when you just kind of tap the ball a little bit? Yeah.
Very gentle.
Right, putt, golf, yeah.
You like, but if it's like when you when you golf, you like don't touch it, and then you do that twice, and then you bring it all the way back, and then you go, and then it swings. You go,
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, I guess in volleyball, you don't actually bring the ball back, but you do bring your arm back before you
Sir?
serve.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Tennis, you do that too, right? Yeah, you
Soccer,
bring the-
because
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
in soccer, like when you like before you kick it, you kind of
You take your foot
bring your
back.
foot backwards.
back.
Yeah. So probably, yeah, probably maybe in every sport there's some level of that going on.
Hockey is like soccer, but with a putt.
With a flat. You know what I realized at bowling alleys, where you roll the balls, like when you're like trying to get the pins to go down, they grease it so it goes faster.
Oh.
So if you just get a normal bowling ball and put it on a normal wooden floor, it probably won't go as fast as you think it will.
Oh, that could be.
But they put grease.
That is probably why I have noticed that the floor is usually very shiny, like it's been waxed very well.
And my aunt, she like has like a bowling pin thing. So like you know those little like rags, so like you wash off your hands. So it's like a chalk rag, and then you like pat your hands on it. It's like a chalk ball, but it's like not made of chalk.
Yeah,
and like when you
gymnastics.
squeeze it, like chalk puff comes out. So you go like,
For gymnastics.
and then
Oh,
yeah,
to
the
give you a
Olympics.
good
And then-
grip. Yeah.
They got Olympics for gymnastics.
One time I went on a bar to jump into a foam pit, and they gave us chalk.
That's nice.
But,
Oh,
but
well,
when
you know,
you,
in gymnastics would be another example of that too, right?
Yeah,
Before,
Olympics,
usually
in
when they
Olympics.
do their floor routine,
Oh, yeah,
they
like-
start
yeah.
like this, and then
Yeah, in the
they
bars.
run a little bit, and then they flip.
But
Yeah,
when
the
you're on the
bars,
bars,
too.
like you,
Yeah.
sometimes they'll like swing back and forth.
they have to,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, and then
run.
drop
To
and
give
then
them,
flip.
Yeah, they have to go back and forth a couple
and
times
then
before they can
sometimes,
go
and then
all the way
sometimes
around.
and then sometimes they flip, and then they
Yeah.
land like on top of the bar, and then they
Yeah.
jump to the other bar, and
Mhm.
they swing on that bar.
Yeah.
We
So,
used to
so it's like aerobics.
You do uneven bars? Cool. I always wished I had learned that when I was young. I don't know if I am brave enough to try it.
But the easiest thing in gymnastics is the beam. The beam in gymnastics, the beam.
Is
Easiest.
what? Oh, the easiest?
Other than when you have to do like flips on it.
Yeah.
Because I need like running starts to do flips and stuff.
Mm.
So it's hard to do that. Because you're like,
All right. Well, so let's get out our activity manuals, and we're going to turn to page 139. So, and this is basically a study guide for what we've covered so far.
Before. There you go. Ooh, big gold. 139. 1 and a 3 and
Here are we here. All right. Yes. All right. So everybody's there, and you guys can use your books if you want for this. It's pages 212 to 219, so pretty much from the beginning of chapter 9 until where we are right now.
D answers the question.
You mean B? No.
No, well, we're gonna start at the top in part A.
alright.
Okay. So number 1, an object is in blank when its position changes. Isabel?
Is in motion.
Motion. Very good. All right. Number 2, to determine whether an object is in motion, you need a blank, an object or location that is not moving. Sarah?
Reference point?
Reference point. Very good.
Wait, where is that?
We went over what on Tuesday? I think we went over that.
I think so. R-E-N-R-E-N-T-E.
Do you want me to write these up here so you guys
Yeah.
can see the spelling? Okay.
The easier thing is just to take a tissue and put the spray on.
She can go. She can do that after this
So number 1 was motion.
Motion. Yup.
Number 2 is reference point. All right. Number 3. Resistance to a change in motion is called. Gavin, can we put that away for right now?
Yep.
Azalea?
I think it's distance.
Anybody else? Isabel?
Potential energy?
No. So this is what we're talking about when you are in a car and the driver has to hit the brakes suddenly and your whole body goes flying forward. Yes, Sarah?
Inertia?
Inertia. Very good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and basically the reason for that when you're in a car is because your body is moving forward, right? When the car is moving, your body is moving forward in space. And then when the car suddenly comes to a stop, your body wants to keep moving. So that's why it kind of flies forward like that. Okay. Number 4, Newton's first law of motion says that an object at blank tends to stay at rest, and an object in motion tends to stay in motion with the same direction and speed. Isabel, was that a hand up or no?
No.
Well, it kind of gave you the answer in the question there, actually. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. An object in blank tends to stay at rest.
Motion. Newton's. Doesn't seem. Oh, first law of motion.
Newton's first law of motion says that an object is at.
Doesn't say.
Yes, it does. The way it ends, the way
Oh,
that,
speed?
no, the way that
Force.
sentence ends
Force.
tells you what goes in that blank.
Force?
All right, listen, guys. An object at blank tends to stay at rest. Sarah.
Rest.
Yeah.
Rest,
Right.
yes. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. And I think maybe you've seen this in a, I forget what the advertisement is for, but there's a commercial where it talks about getting up and moving. It might be for some kind of joint medication or something, but it was talking about our bodies and how if our bodies are constantly at rest, they want to stay at rest. But if we keep moving our bodies and we're exercising regularly, then our bodies like to stay.
Like if you
Actually,
take,
that's
like,
we use that
sometimes
this
if you
one in
take
baseball all the time for when we're fielding, when we're playing the field. We don't want the fielder to just stand there. As the pitcher is throwing the ball, we want the fielder to be moving,
Mm-hmm.
so he's not starting from a complete stop.
Yeah.
You know, we tell them to do that to overcome inertia.
Oh.
And they're older kids, so they tend to know what I'm talking about. But if they don't, I will explain it further.
Mm-hmm.
They just can't stand still.
Yeah.
Like this. They should be moving as the pitch is being thrown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Isabel?
like when you take a nap, you're more tired after a nap. Like you take a nap and you're still tired after a nap. Like you take a nap and then it makes you feel like you want to go to sleep again.
Well, I think that depends on it. That depends on what time you take the nap and how long you take the nap for.
My grandma said if she takes a nap, she just feels run down the rest of the day.
Yeah. Well, ideally, if you're going to take a nap, you want to take it before 2 p.m. and you want to make sure you wake up before 4 p.m. because if you sleep past that point, then you're going to feel groggy and then you're going to have trouble going to sleep later on. So,
One time my cousins, she slept, and I got so surprised. She slept till 7 at night. We were eating dinner.
When did she
And
start?
then she goes, "Where's my breath?" And it was like, she always sleeps until like 1, but it was 7 and she woke up.
wow.
When did she
Yeah.
sleep? When did she first sleep?
Well, usually she's up, but she wasn't up really at that night. She just slept really.
This also comes into play in all kinds of athletic training because it's much easier to run fast if you already were jogging. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're starting from a dead stop,
Mm-hmm.
it's very, only the greatest athletes can achieve maximum speed in just 2 or 3 steps. For
Yeah.
many of us, it takes 7 or 8 steps to get that way.
Mm-hmm.
So if a base runner's going to steal a base, he better get a good start. Or in the Olympics, if you're running a sprint, if you get off to a slow start, the race is over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's over. You're not going to catch up.
Yeah.
You don't have enough time to catch up.
Mhm.
So it's the training is called plyometrics, and it trains our bodies to be more explosive. Which is the reason this is so hard is because of Newton's third law. To
Yeah.
overcome that. Yeah.
Gavin.
I have a question Mr. B said it's usually bad to start at a slow start, but
Well,
And
if
horse-
it's a short race, if it's a
but
short
in horse races, usually the first horse that starts off the slowest
Yeah.
is the one that ends up winning the race because it's saving its energy.
They can. That's a strategy, and those are longer races. I'm talking about a very short run.
Yeah.
Then you have to have a good start.
Like, if I was in a race, I would probably start off jogging and save my energy till about, like, half point. And
Well,
then
yes,
start.
those are the horses that I would bet on, but I never did anyway, so I don't know.
Well, they say that even too, like when you run a
I want
marathon,
$50
you want to
please.
start out slow and gradually build up your speed, and then you want to finish at your max speed.
That's right. That is correct. Finish
One
strong.
time my
Yes.
pop betted on a horse and it was about to win, and then the guy literally did this to his horse. Pulled back the reins so hard that the horse was literally looking at the
Ooh,
crowd.
and that's dangerous too. That can be really painful.
Yeah, one
or
time I
hurt
saw
the
this
horse.
guy. This horse jumped over. The horse jumped over a bush and the guy fell through the bush. He was fine, so it was kind of funny, but it was.
Sometimes it can be quite serious.
Yeah,
It's
no,
actually, I don't know if you guys
dangerous.
would have seen, there's a movie
I
I grew up watching. There's a movie called Black Beauty. Have you guys
Yeah.
ever seen
They-
that?
I've heard of
They
it.
And where they-
re-released that on Disney Plus. They re-released.
Oh, okay. It's on Netflix too, because I just watched it with Leanna recently.
Really?
But one of the things that happens to the horses in that movie is they have a really good owner that takes really good care of them and really loves them, and then the owners have to move because I think one of the family members gets sick and they have to go get treatment somewhere.
I don't remember the story. I know the
And then
basic
what
plot.
happens is this other woman takes ownership of the horses, and she doesn't like that the horses run with their heads bowed down, so she puts this harness on them to try and force their necks back. And the one horse ends up actually getting injured, and it's very, very bad for the horse.
Why would you want the horse to do that? If they run with their neck down, then that's just how they run. They can't
Because this is how.
Well, I guess
horses run.
she wanted them more for show horses than for,
That's different.
Oh.
you know.
That's different.
But those horses weren't they weren't raised that way, so their bodies weren't used to that, so it was actually really damaged.
That's
the
probably
horse.
that's how you
If
kill
I
a
had a
probably.
horse, I would never really put like the reins on. I would probably just like hold on to the rein because I think reins sort of hurt the horse because they put a metal piece in their mouth.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's kind of
I
the
would at
thing.
least.
Well-
I wouldn't put the bridle. I would just put the reins. I wouldn't
Yeah.
put the bridle. I wouldn't-
Well,
Yeah, that's one of the things that they actually. Well, what's kind of neat about Black Beauty is that it tells the story from the horse's perspective. The horse is actually the narrator, and so he talks about when they put the is it the bridle that goes in
called
its
the
mouth,
bridle.
the metal part.
Yeah, that's the.
That's a narrative.
Yeah, well, it's
voice.
it's not.
narrator's voice, but he's pretending to say what the horse might say.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah.
That's
it
actually
talks
a
about
very
how
nice
it's
way to tell a
very
story.
uncomfortable. Yeah, it really is. If you ever have the chance to watch it, it's a really, really good movie.
What
And
is
it's a nice family movie.
What is it like
You know,
rated?
there's nothing.
Like, in what's
I think it's like PG. It's a very, very good, clean movie. Nice family movie. Gavin.
So one thing that I learned from doing horse riding is when the metal piece is in their mouth, there's like a certain gap in their mouth where there's no teeth at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of touching their gum,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like designed not to hurt them. I'm pretty sure
Mm-hmm.
it's only designed to like steer them in the direction.
Yeah, it's not really to hurt them, and
Yeah, but
if the
still, I
person's
was
gentle with
thinking-
it, but it takes them time to get used to it
I would
being in
just
their
put-
mouth.
But like, if I wasn't really, if I wasn't using it for like a ride horse, like if I wasn't using it for a racing horse, and I was just using
Oh,
it for like a riding around anywhere I want really horse, I would not put the bridle really. I wouldn't really get the
Put it
horse
in.
used to the bridle. I would just get it used to the reins.
Pencil too.
I mean, I'm sure there's
yeah.
a reason that they do that. And in the movie, actually, the guy who's like the nice owner in
Yeah.
the beginning, every time he puts it in the horse's mouth, he gives him an apple. So it's kind of like a reward for doing it. So then the horse doesn't mind it so much because he gets an apple that he loves. So Anyway, it's just a really great movie.
It's a fantasy.
What does the horse say when they put the bridle in the mouth?
He talks about how he doesn't like it and it feels weird in his mouth and yeah, it's
So it's sort of
uncomfortable.
like
But then
right
he's happy
here
because he
on
gets the
But I don't have
the apples.
I don't have like the teeth right here, so it's like sort of
Well, it's like back in the mouth, like behind the teeth, so it doesn't actually touch their teeth. It's just touching the gums, like Gavin was saying.
Yeah, because they only have front teeth. In the back, like we have molars. In the back, they just have like gums. So if you ever get bit by a horse, and like if the horse is still closing its mouth, you might like it might like hurt the horse a little, but you might want to like move it to the gum so it doesn't like bite off your finger.
Interesting.
And that's also why you never put your just your finger in a bunny's cage, because they might think it's a carrot
Yeah.
and they'll just go.
Sarah.
Alana, Liza, and I, there are these neighbors who live sort of far from my house. And in the summer, I think it started last summer, where like we just get off the bus, do all our homework, get changed, and then go out and walk to the horses, because they would like be right next to the road. We would walk up there and pet them and give them an apple. And there were 2 of them. But yeah, and that I really like that.
Nice.
My grandma, it's like on the end. So like when you're going up to school on like the back road, my grandma's sort of like, so like if you're going on that road where that big white building is, you don't go straight to get to her house, you go like that. So you go right past the barn. And I like it because whenever it's summer, the guy usually has his horses out, so when we see them, we say, horsies! But they're like miniature horse. So they're miniature brown horse, and they're like twins or something.
So they're ponies.
Yeah, they're ponies, but they're miniature.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have time for today. So we'll continue working on this when we're back together on Tuesday after you guys hand your letters in.
Okay.
All right. Bye, Reed.
Bye.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.
He's not watching that vlog.